Sqilah. Enhancing Careers. Chapter 5, Components of Aircraft Weight. It is necessary to understand that at different stages of loading an aircraft's weight will alter. The majority of these weights are fixed and do not change often, i.e. the basic weight of the aircraft, although others such as passenger weights will vary. Aircraft weight. All aircraft are individually weighed. Commonly, no two aircraft will have exactly the same weight. The empty weight of an aircraft is calculated to include its airframe and engines, full oil tanks, and unusable fuel. It is also known as standard empty weight. Fixed equipment. Fixed equipments are seats, galley, toilets including furnishings, and emergency equipment such as oxygen masks and bottles. Anything that is standard or fitted as an optional extra to the aircraft is part of this calculation. Optional or extra equipment. Any additional instruments, radio equipment, etc., installed but not included as standard equipment, the weight of which is added to the standard weight empty to get the basic empty weight. It includes fixed ballast, full engine coolant, hydraulic, de-icing fluid. Crew. Generally, commercial aircraft have a standard operating crew complement with standard crew weights used for load sheets. However, this can alter for training or checking purposes when an additional pilot is carried on the jump seat or an extra flight attendant is in the cabin. The load controller must adjust the crew complement as it will affect the weight and trim of the aircraft. Galley/pantry. Consisting of any food, drink, provisions, or objects used for servicing passengers or crew. E.g. tea, biscuits, coffee pots, and hot water. Whilst individually, these items have a negligible weight, when they are carried in bulk, it will naturally add weight to the aircraft, in turn affecting its trim. It would be unfeasible to weigh every item of pantry carried on board each flight, therefore a standard weight is created accounting for required provisions per flight. The weight and location is recorded for trim purposes and absorbed into calculations for the operating weights of the aircraft. Passenger weights. This is the total weight of all passengers carried, including their hand baggage. These can be actual weights, whereby all passengers and their hand baggage are physically weighed, or standard. Actual passenger weights must be used in computing the weight of an airplane with limited seating capacity. Allowance must be made for heavy winter clothing, which may add as much as 14 pounds to a person's basic weight, while summer clothing would add about 8 pounds. On larger airplanes with quite a number of passenger seats and for which actual passenger weights would not be available, the following average passenger weights may be used. The specified weights for males and females include an allowance for 8 pounds of carry-on baggage. Baggage. The total weight of all baggage carried on board the aircraft, either actual weights calculated by physically weighing baggage or standard weights that an air operator has established and documented in their air operator's exposition. The total weight of an airplane is the weight of the airplane and everyone and everything that is carried in it, at a specific time. It is called as all-up weight, AUW. Total weight comprises 3 elements, the basic weight, the variable load, and the disposable load, all of which, together with the appropriate lever arms, are recorded in the weight and CG schedule. Empty weight. It includes the weight of the airframe, power plant, required equipment, optional or special equipment, fixed ballast, hydraulic fluid, and residual fuel and oil. Residual fuel and oil are the fluids that will not normally drain out because they are trapped in the fuel lines, oil lines, and tanks. They must be included in the aircraft's empty weight. The full capacity of the engine oil system is also included in the empty weight. The empty weight also includes all operating equipment that has a fixed location and is actually installed in the aircraft. Other terms that are sometimes used when describing empty weight include basic empty weight. Full capacity of the engine oil system is included in the value. Licensed empty weight. Only the weight of residual oil is included in the value. Standard empty weight would be a value supplied by the aircraft manufacturer, and it would not include any optional equipment that might be installed in a particular aircraft. Operational weight empty. The basic empty weight of the airplane plus the weight of the pilot. It excludes payload and usable fuel. Basic weight. Basic weight is a combination of the aircraft weight and all its fixed equipment, which is common to all roles in which the aircraft may be required to perform. It includes aircraft weight plus basic equipment, unusable fuel, and undrainable oil. The basic equipment includes unconsumable fluids and the equipment which is common to all roles for which the operator intends to use the aircraft. The basic weight and the corresponding CG position, together with the declared basic equipment showing the weight and arm of each item, are shown in Part A of the weight and CG schedule or in the loading and distribution schedule as appropriate. Weight and traffic load. To avoid getting lost in a mass of figures and definitions, remember that the all-up weight of an aircraft at any stage of flight consists of three elements. The aircraft prepared for service weight. The weight of the fuel on board. The traffic load carried. The APS weight and the traffic load remain constant throughout the flight, whereas the weight of the fuel will progressively decrease. Variable load. This includes the roll equipment, the crew, and the crew baggage. Roll equipment is that which is required to complete a specific task such as seats, toilets, and galley for the passenger roll or roller convey or lashing points and tie-down equipment for the freight roll. Disposable/useful load. Disposable load is the traffic load plus usable fuel and consumable fluids. The traffic load is the total weight of passengers, baggage and cargo, including any non-revenue load. The disposable load is sometimes referred to as the useful load. Useful load is the difference between gross takeoff weight and basic weight empty. In order that the maximum traffic load can be carried, it may be necessary to limit the amount of fuel which is carried to a safe minimum. Whether or not the fuel carried actually limits the traffic load, it is normally prudent to reduce the fuel load to a safe minimum in order to reduce the all-up weight of the aircraft. This will result in lower operating costs, higher cruise levels, reduced thrust takeoffs, and/or easier compliance with noise abatement procedures on takeoff. Payload/allowed traffic load. Payload is the maximum weight that could be carried by an aircraft for a given flight. The load available as passengers, baggage, freight, etc., after the weight of pilot, crew, usable fuel have been deducted from the useful load. In commercial term, it is anything or anyone carried that earns money for the airline. Underload. Deducting the total traffic load from the allowed traffic load provides an underload. This indicates how much weight is still available to carry anything. If you have an extra passengers wishing to travel that requires a late manual change, LMC, to the load sheet, you will know if you have the weight available to accept them for carriage by looking at your underload. Design minimum weight. The lowest weight at which an airplane complies with the structural requirements for its own safety. Dry operating weight. The total weight of the airplane for a specific type of operation excluding all usable fuel and traffic loads. It includes such items as crew baggage, catering equipment, removable passenger service equipment, and potable water and lavatory chemicals. It is sometimes referred to as the aircraft prepared for service (APS) weight. Landing weight. Landing weight is the gross weight of the airplane, including all of its contents, at the time of landing. Maximum weight. The maximum weight is the maximum authorized weight of the aircraft and its contents. Weight and balance manuals of airlines indicate the max weight at varying stages that an aircraft can be loaded to. These variants of concept of maximum weight are as follows. Maximum zero fuel weight, MZFW. Maximum takeoff weight, MTOW. Maximum landing weight, MLDW. It is the load controller's responsibility to determine the lowest maximum weight governing and restricting the load sheet to ensure that the aircraft's structure and airworthiness requirements are not exceeded. After calculating all the variation loads, the lowest maximum weight will govern and restrict the load sheet. Maximum landing weight. The maximum permissible total airplane weight on landing in normal circumstances. This is the heaviest weight an aircraft can have while landing. Most multi-engine airplanes, which operate over long stage lengths, consume considerable weights of fuel. As a result, their weight is appreciably less on landing than at takeoff. Designers take advantage of this condition to stress the airplane for the lighter landing loads, thus saving structural weight. Maximum zero fuel weight. It is the maximum permissible weight of an airplane with no usable fuel. This is also the dry operating weight plus the traffic load. It is the heaviest weight an aircraft can be loaded to without having any usable fuel in the fuel tanks. Any weight loaded above this value must be in the form of fuel. This is a structural limitation imposed to ensure that the airframe is not overstressed. Operational gross weight. The weight of the airplane loaded for takeoff. It includes the basic weight empty plus the useful load. Maximum ramp weight. The heaviest weight to which an aircraft can be loaded while it is sitting on the ground. It is also the maximum weight approved for ground maneuvering. It includes the weight of fuel used for start, taxi, and run-up. This is sometimes referred to as the maximum taxi weight. It must not exceed the surface load-bearing strength. Maximum takeoff weight. This is the maximum weight approved for the start of the takeoff run. The difference between this weight and the maximum ramp weight would equal the weight of the fuel that would be consumed prior to takeoff. Maximum structural takeoff weight. The maximum permissible total airplane weight at the start of the takeoff run. Maximum total weight authorized, MTWA. The maximum total weight of aircraft prepared for service, the crew, passengers, baggage and cargo at which the aircraft may take off anywhere in the world, in the most favorable circumstances in accordance with the Certificate of Airworthiness in force in respect of aircraft. Total loaded weight. The sum of the aircraft basic weight, the variable load and disposable load. Ballast. Additional fixed weights which can be removed, if necessary, that are carried, to ensure the center of gravity remains within the safe limits, in certain circumstances. Load spreader. A mechanical device inserted between the cargo and the aircraft floor to distribute the weight evenly over a greater floor area. Weight limitations. The factors which may limit the maximum takeoff weight, TOW, are the structural limits. These are weight limits, which are imposed by the manufacturer and agreed by the authority to ensure the airplane is not overstressed. These structural weights include the maximum structural ramp weight, the maximum structural takeoff weight, the maximum zero fuel weight, and the maximum structural landing weight. The field length limited takeoff weight. This is the TOW as limited by the available field lengths, runway length, and the prevailing meteorological conditions at the departure aerodrome. The en route requirements. The weight of the aircraft at any stage of the flight en route must be such that the aircraft can safely clear any objects within a specified distance of the aircraft's intended track. En route terrain clearance may impose a limitation on the takeoff weight. The maximum landing weight. Maximum landing weight may be dictated by the structural limitation, the field length limit, or the WAT limit at the destination or alternate aerodromes. The maximum takeoff weight. The lowest restricted weight of the field length limitation, the WAT limitation, and the structural limitation is the maximum TOW. The size of the traffic load may be restricted by reasons other than the disposable load which is available once the fuel load has been decided. It may be impossible to distribute the traffic load such that the center of gravity of the laden aircraft remains within the safe specified limits, in which case some of the traffic load may have to be offloaded. Effects of weight out of range. Few aircraft impose a minimum weight for flight, but all impose a maximum weight. If the maximum weight is exceeded, the aircraft may not be able to achieve or sustain controlled, level flight. Excessive takeoff weight may make it impossible to take off within available runway lengths, or it may completely prevent takeoff. Excessive weight in flight may make climbing beyond a certain altitude difficult or impossible, or it may make it impossible to maintain an altitude.